crime. I have lived a life that nobody should live. People don't understand why I don't take a salary as a minister. Because I don't take a salary because I owe this country so much that for me, it's an absolute pleasure just to serve this country. People have forgiven me. People have forgiven me because Nelson Mandela taught us forgiveness. I am the product of the kindness of strangers. I am what I am because there was a man that lived called Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is our North Star. Nelson Mandela is the best thing that ever happened to us. And my call today is for each and everybody here to find the Mandela in you. Because so many of us has moved away from the Mandela in us. South Africa has walked away. We have failed Nelson Mandela. Freedom Park has failed Nelson Mandela. My department has failed Nelson Mandela. Government has failed Nelson Mandela. Citizens has failed Nelson Mandela. Business has failed Nelson Mandela. White people has failed Nelson Mandela. Black people has failed Nelson Mandela. And I tell you why I'm saying so. Because there are young people today, and maybe you don't want the visitors to know, but they have to know. There are young people today that call Nelson Mandela a sellout. I know it, and you know it. The reason why they call him a sellout is because when the hunter tells the story of the hunted, he will tell not the story of the hunted, he will tell the story of the hunter. We have not done sufficiently as South Africans to talk about this icon. The word sellout and the word Nelson Mandela does not belong in one sentence. We have failed Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela will be ashamed if he has a view of South Africa today. White people still have everything. White businesses have not shared sufficiently. Black people has adopted the mannerisms of the erstwhile oppressor. Because I come from the colored community, which were there during the times of Krotua. But today, legislatively, there's a difference between colored and black. Colored people today are not seen as Africans. While the first person Nelson Mandela hired was Professor Jakes Gerwel by his side. Then some fools come and they decide colored people cannot be black. While colored people, let me tell you something today. When Solomon Matangu was hanged, Frank Rivers was hanged. When Steve Biko was killed by the police, Ashley Creel was killed by the police. When Nelson Mandela was on Robben Island, Harry the Strandloper was the first president on Robben Island. When Walter Sisulu was on Robben Island, South Africa had many other prisoners on Robben Island. I came here today to tell you, we are one people. The way Nelson Mandela never saw Ahmed Kathrada as lesser than him. But legislatively, Indian people are not being treated the same as black people in this country. Colored people are not the same. We need to look in the mirror and fix that. We should not avoid the national question. We are one people. We fought one struggle. We went to one prisoner. We are the children of Mandela. And you cannot bring Mandela's name in disrepute. In my community, you do get racist people. In your community, you do get racist people. We should not be known by the worst of us. We should be known by the best of us. This man, I went to Guernsey, and the gentleman that drove the taxi didn't know where South Africa was. And when I said Mandela, his face lit up. He said, Mandela country! And he didn't want me to pay. I had to tell him Mandela left me a big inheritance, which was partially true. So, at this august moment, where are we as South Africans? You should never have asked me to come and speak here. If you wanted me to come and give you poetry and nice things about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela made one mistake. He said he was not a saint. I tell you, Nelson Mandela was a saint. Nelson Mandela has given us something that must live in us for the rest of our lives. Nelson Mandela sacrificed everything for us not to be divided, but to be united. I was criticized in my maiden speech. I was asked by the EFF, why can you agree? What is your stance when it comes to the stem in the national anthem as the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture? I stood proudly because I had to dig deep into the Mandela in me before I could answer them. And we each have a Mandela in us. And I said to them, I'm very proud of this stem because it's a testament of where we were and where we are today. I want to say to South Africans here, President Ramaphosa has given, you know how it is, very informally. Leaders in the GNU will talk, what do you want, what do you want, which ministry you want. And I said, I want Home Affairs for particular reasons which I will just elaborate on shortly. And I said, I want police as number 2. And I asked my friends, what can I say as number 3? And I never knew my friends are so selfish and such cheapskates, because they then, Mambaleka, they then said, I must get sport, because they want free tickets. It wasn't for any good reason. It was for very selfish reasons. Because I love my selfish friends. I then said, sport, arts and culture. When the president called at 6:30 p.m., and he said, Mr. Gayton Mackenze, it would be my pleasure if you serve in my cabinet, and I want you to serve in the portfolio of sport, arts and culture. I was being polite. I was like, yeah, thank you. I wasn't particularly happy. But I want to make a confession here today. If the president calls me tomorrow and he says to me, you can have police or Home Affairs, I will refuse. Because I'm at the best place in South Africa. I love this portfolio. I'm going to change the way things has happened in the past, because this portfolio is a portfolio called social cohesion. We must come together as white, black in South Africa. We are one nation. We are the children of Nelson Mandela. We should not let people divide us. The first thing I'm going to do, every school in this country, I'm going to meet with the Minister of Education, should teach children about Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Every institution must be taught. I'm going to speak to the Minister of Prisons that there must be lessons in jail about Nelson Mandela. That we will have fewer people coming out of jail with the intention of still continuing with a life of crime. Because here we have a man that has been given to this country to change the unchangeable. And you must never forget that we are the children of Nelson Mandela.